All right, so this is SketchUp, and I'll show you some of the basic tools before we get started and how you can navigate and work around SketchUp. So if you use your middle mouse button, if you have a wheel, if you scroll it, you zoom in and out. If you click and hold it down, you'll actually orbit around. Now if you click that middle mouse button and hold shift down, it'll pan. So that's basically all there is to navigating around SketchUp. So you have those tools up here, but I'm showing you the keyboard and the mouse tools because that's really what you'll be using once you start getting into SketchUp and modeling. So let's look at some of the other tools we have. This is the, we'll start from the left. This is your selection tool. That just selects your objects. This is your materials tool, and we'll get into that later. This is your eraser tool, and the shortcut for that is E. And these are some of your drawing tools. We'll start off with the pencil tool. Now if you click and let go of your mouse, or let go of the button and start moving your mouse, you'll see it snaps to this green axis. If you go in this direction, it snaps to the red axis. This is your y-axis, and this is your x-axis. Now if you're on your axis and you click again, it'll just draw another line. So you can keep drawing, and it'll create shapes. And now let me show you what just happened here. If you have a line that's in a z-axis, right now it looks like it's all on the same plane. Well, if you move your mouse around, you'll notice that it's in different axes. So if you try to close that, you're not going to get a closed line. So it's very important to always move your mouse around, make sure that everything's planar. You learn that in geometry class. It's very important that everything's in the same plane, because it's not, if you try to connect it, it's not going to close that plane off. So just make sure that everything's planar. And then once you close that last line, it's going to create a shape. Now, that's the line tool, and you can simply create those similar shapes just with the circle tool and the rectangle tool. So this is the circle tool, and this is the rectangle tool. And simply the shortcut keys for that, R is for rectangle, and C is for circle. And this is a triangle tool, or it's actually a hexagon tool. You can actually change the amount of sides to it. Let's see if we can do that. So if I select my my hexagon tool, at the bottom right you can see it says sides, and you can change the number, and you can change it, let's say 8. So now it's going to create an octagon. And you can also use a squiggle tool, and you can draw a line around in any shape you want, and when you close it, it'll create that shape. So those are the basic ways you can create shapes. Now what makes SketchUp 3D is this wonderful push-pull tool. Now this tool is really the tool you're going to use to create your objects. If you hover over an object with the push-pull tool, you'll see it highlights. Well, if you click, it's going to push, that's why it's called push-pull tool, it's going to push it up, and you can specify the distance at the bottom right. You can see it says 7 feet. If we want it to be exactly 7 feet, we can hit 7 feet and enter, and it's going to push it up that distance. And then we can also inference. So if you want to match, there's the push-pull tool, you want to match that height, you can snap to that height as well. So that's one way to do that. Now if you left drag, it's going to select everything that's crossing it. If you right drag, it's going to select only what's entirely inside that selection tool. Another way to select an object, if you double click, it'll select the face and the edges. Of course, a single click is just a face. Now if you triple click, it'll select everything that's tied to that face. So if you're in a view that has a lot of objects in the background, and you want to select just that foreground object, you can simply triple click, and that's the easy way to select it. Now, if we're going to rotate it, this is the rotate tool, and you can just click anywhere you want, and that's the base for the rotate, and this is the inference point for the rotate. If I click my mouse one more time, it'll rotate around that base point. So of course, this is where you can specify your angle, 50 degrees. You can flip it in the X and the Y axis. So if you click and drag, there you can see it's snapping there, snapping to my Y axis. Now when I let go, there's my inference point, and now it's rotating around that. And of course I can rotate it 45 degrees. So one of the other tools that we can do is the scale tool. So if you select all of your objects, this is the scale tool, or you can hit S on your keyboard, and you can scale evenly, or you can scale, these are different scale points. So you can scale up, or you can scale out, or you can scale continuously, evenly. And then, of course, you'll notice at the bottom right, that's the amount you want to scale by. If you want to double it, you can say 2. It's going to double it in size. If you want to make it smaller, you can say 0.5 from your original. It'll make it smaller. So that's the scale tool. Also, the last one here I want to show you is the offset tool. This is very useful for doing, if you're doing doors or other objects, you can select your face, click the offset tool, and it'll, much like AutoCAD, it'll offset that, that face by distance. And let's say we want to offset it 1 foot. We'll say 1 foot, enter, and it just offset that face. Now if you wanted to make a hole in your object, you just simply use the push-pull tool once you've created that other face. You can see now I selected that face, and now it's only going to select what's inside that rectangle. Now you can push and pull that, and I'm going to snap to that bottom corner, and you can see it made that hole right there. And the nice thing about SketchUp that I really like, and the reason that keeps geometry light, is you can get rid of those holes very simply, and you just select any of those other faces and snap it to that other corner, and it's going to get rid of that hole entirely. And it's also going to forget that it had that hole, and it was never there. So you can select the whole thing and see that it's, there's nothing about it that used to have that hole. So you could create that hole and then take it away all day long. And that's what's really nice about SketchUp. There's some other tools here that you could look at. There's a dimension tool. This is a length tool to measure. This is a protractor tool just to measure an angle. These tools are, they're not necessarily for modeling and building. They're more for documentation. Here's an annotation tool for some notes. It's telling you this is actually a square foot of the circle, so there's some nice things about it that SketchUp does that are very useful for architects.